We're back. Your boy, the one and only nonprofit sector connector, coming at you 2 flights up from the kitchen. And I will tell you, 2 flights up from the kitchen is closer to the sun. And on a day like today, it is hot in the attic. I didn't hook up the air conditioner yet. That's a whole thing we got to deal with. Philanthropy and Focus, that's the name of the show, the nonprofit sector connector. That's your boy, Tommy D, the one and only, since I made it up, the one and only nonprofit sector connector. Although I will tell you, the more folks I've been connecting with, I just see this attitude of gratitude, this attitude of connecting, there's a lot of nonprofit sector connectors out there. I might be the one that just gave myself the nickname, but now there's many of us. The point of the matter is this. I'm looking at my notes from an interview that I did earlier this week with a nonprofit organization. And the thing that's standing out for me from my notes that are on my desk, it says they deal with 400 other nonprofits in schools. It's an organization called Computers for People. They are a semi-finalist in the New York City Imagine Awards, and I had the incredible opportunity to speak with the executive director and founder, whose name is Dylan Zajac. He's a 21-year-old young man who started this organization when he was 15 years old. So what am I telling you all? If you want to do something, it doesn't matter how old you are, just lean in, do the thing. Yesterday, I had another opportunity to meet with Katrina Peru, from the organization is called Inspiring Minds NYC, another semifinalist in 2 different categories in the New York City Imagine Awards. And, it was on a panel discussion for nonprofits at the Queens Chamber of Commerce, left Queens, headed over to Brooklyn, and actually the Francis Scott Key School in Brooklyn, and had this opportunity to meet with Katrina for about an hour, and just so impressed about what her organization is doing. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out nycimagineawards.com. nycimagineawards.com. The big event's coming up in October, and we're currently at the phase of where we as the committee get to do these additional interviews with the semifinalists. So we don't have the time for me to read off all the semifinalists right now, but I would encourage you to go to nycimagineawards.com. And actually, let me just tell you when the big event is, because if you're looking to be a sponsor or get involved with it, you can always reach out to me, and I'll get you connected with the team at the Imagine Awards. But you can send me an email, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus.com, PHOCUS. Also, I love the Instagram, so hit me up, TommyD.NYC on Instagram. And I said the website a couple times, but I want to give you the actual date of the ceremony, which I will get you in a second. It is October. I'll get you in a second because I don't have it right in front of me. Okay, that's how the show works. It's real. It's a real show, right? It's happening in real life. So once I have my guest, Michael D. Kitakis, introduce himself, I'll get back to getting you that date for the New York City Imagine Awards. If you can't find it, just go to the website or reach out to me directly. All right, Michael D. Kitakis is my guest. Michael D., what's up, man? Tommy D. and Michael D., what's that about?
Hi, Tommy. Thank you so much for letting me on today. It was definitely, I didn't know until I was doing this until last night, because Diane and Michael of our organization were busy elsewhere. So I was like, oh, someone do it, I'll try.
I'm so psyched, man. You know what? Listen, nobody better than you and maybe James Young to tell this story, and maybe Mikey Young, right? But just, some of the originals, the OGs, if you will, gang, if you don't know that, the original gangsters of Spirit of Huntington Art Center. So shout out to Diane Young, shout out to Michael Kitakis, Executive Director Michael Kitakis, Associate Executive Director Diane Young. Michael D. Kitakis, who's with me today, is an incredible musician, leads a lot of the music programming at the Spirit of Huntington Art Center. We're going to get into that, but Michael, you are a musician, right? I mean, that's part of what you're passionate about, right?
Yeah. So my training, I started when I was 7 years old. I started. It's funny, my parents didn't force me to do it, because I know a lot of musicians that kind of like your parents like, you have to do something.
Yeah.
That wasn't for me. I remember when I was really young, I remember in elementary school, it was time to start to pick extracurriculars. And I remember they played all the instruments for us for orchestra one time. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I want to do, like, because when you're a little kid, you're just like, oh, looks fun, let's do it.
Oh.
Not thinking second twice about it. I almost wanted to do violin at first. But I remember at the time, my teacher said, oh, I think you have more of a build of a cellist. Now, whether she meant that or she just needed more jealous and needed an excuse. I will never know, but that's okay. That's okay. So I ended up doing cello instead, and I was 7. It started off as something that was just really fun. It started off as me just something you did as I grew up in school. I didn't take it super seriously until I started going to a wonderful performing arts day camp, if anyone's heard of it, Youth Stand Summer Camp for the Arts in Wheatley Heights.
Sure.
I spent 8 phenomenal, wonderful summers there growing up from 5th grade till I graduated high school. Um, it was all outdoors. I learned my musicianship more than I thought I ever could over those summers. It's a really cool thing to pass the time in the summer. We had a lot of great aid. And then I worked there for a few summers. That was my start to my professional administration career and stuff. And then I went to, when I graduated high school, I said take more seriously. I went to the State University of New York at New Paltz. I did phenomenal town, missed the area so much.
Let me interrupt you right there because I know New Paltz. When my wife and I first started dating, she was finishing up at New Paltz, so I spent a lot of time up there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you know what? I don't know if we've ever spoken about that. And it's funny, like while that was going on, while she was at New Paltz, I had a friend and my cousin who were across on the other side at Marist College. So we were up there a lot in the neighborhood. But I would tell you, going up the Mohonk Mountain, right? You've been up that way, I'm sure, when you were up at New Paltz.
I have. I could even one up you on that. One time on Mohonk, I lugged my instrument on my back up the mountain, 4 of us, all the way to the very top of that stone tower at the top. We had a quartet in that stone tower.
Any video of that or what?
No, it's my biggest regret is that I have no video of it.
All right, so you know what? You just gotta you gotta recreate it, Michael. That's all. You just gotta make it happen again. That's just how it is. But
I should have.
We had a little I was gonna say Cheeto because that's the name of our dog now, but we had a little Chihuahua when my wife and I were kids, and his name was Michelob Light, and we took him up to the top of Mohonk, and he was so tiny, he was like 3-4 pounds at the time. I was afraid he was going to jump off the cliff, man, because you're way the heck up there in the mountains, man. You know?
I know, it's a little spooky with how windy it got too. I was like, oh,
yeah, that's awesome. So like from 7, you get involved with the music. Did you ever consider because you're a bit of a performer now, right? I mean, you do some work, and I know
a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, but when you went to New Paltz, tell me about that. Like, did you study music at New Paltz?
I did. So I have a performance degree from there, and that was my main classes were that. When I first went to New Paltz, my focus at first, I don't know if I ever told you this, Tommy, was music therapy was my focus there. Actually, my first for almost my entire. I still took performance classes. I got the degree in it, but I took a few supplemental classes in music therapy because I thought that was going to be the route I wanted to take. Because I thought, I could still help people, or I could a way to maybe get more employment and music. But I started to have my doubts about that part. Nothing against the field, because music therapy I think is phenomenal, underrated, special, heartwarming fields that I have infinite respect to after doing some of the classes. But I realized in my very last semester, when I had to do the internship part, that's when I realized how serious it was getting. I was like, oh, this is not, I have to be a clinical person. You're a therapist.
Right. You're a therapist. Sure. So, that didn't appeal much.
No, it's not that it's bad or I can't do it, but I realize no, I don't want to be responsible for people in this capacity. It's a lot. I don't have that kind of brain for that.
Yeah.
And I realized I would have had to learn guitar as part of it too. And there was a lot of other music skills I would have really had to brush up on. It would have been a lot of extra stuff, extra work. And I don't know if my heart was really in that part of,
I get.
So I realized my very last semester, rough time to hear it because. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I cut you off. I'm just going to say, that's what life and growth is all about, man. We're figuring out things and we're sort of sorting through. That seems very appealing, but maybe it doesn't. And then as you were about to say, though, I guess you made this decision pretty late in the college career. Is that what you can say?
I did. And, I kind of had doubts a little bit my junior year, a little bit. But, at that point, you're in the thick of it. You're just like, whatever, let's just keep going. And then, of course, I was in one of the worst generations to be in college because then COVID happened my second semester of my junior year. So it was one of the worst times for it to happen. Then I have half of the semester remote. Then I went back. Things were still kind of remote, which kind of added to a lot of everything. It was like one of the worst times to graduate was 2021 in the middle of it too. So had a little bit of a bumpy period
Yeah,
after COVID,
well, that's what
but
I'm looking
you
at too.
know,
I mean, you graduated May of 2021, so I guess that's 2020 brings you into your junior year, right? The second part of your
yeah,
year in March of 20. So yeah, man, what was that all about? What was that like being, trying to figure out, especially, in performing arts, right? You kind of have to be there, right? You can't just be on Zoom.
yeah. I know. Like the hard sucky thing about it is that it was a lot of it was just not happening. There was no
Yeah,
orchestra. There was no quartets for a little while. Some of my classes, I only had one or two in person that was like distanced. It was a really sucky time, especially for something that's like you're right, performing arts. Like I remember when first everything was announced to be virtual, and my first thought was how for some
yeah,
of my things. I'm like, how?
yeah,
How can some of my classes be virtual? It was one of the hardest majors to have to transition to virtual, and also one of the worst times to have to be a college student,
yeah.
especially at that point of it. I was like at the nexus of, and the hard thing too about switching my path or realizing so late is that I didn't have a lot of momentum built up because I was kind of music therapy path. I went to two conventions music therapy too
Oh, you did.
in my time. I went to one in Pittsburgh. I went to one in Virginia. So it was pretty involved in it. But then like I had the momentum, then I had to like stop because of my switch and because of COVID. There was nothing happening, so it was
Hey, man, you
a
know
little
what?
hard.
I know in life there's some speed bumps, there's some things that, but there's a book I have. It's around here somewhere in the attic. I'm sure I can find it, but it's called The Obstacle is the Way. The thing that gets in our path might be the thing that moves us on to where we really should be going. It's an interesting
Yeah,
to think of things. I mean, and I got to be honest with you, man. You're a young man. You got the whole world in front of you. Who knows what you're going to be doing 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now?
yeah,
At 46, I'm still creating things and figuring out things. So I think that's just kind of the journey that we all go on. You can constantly,
yeah.
nobody
So
well, in my experience, Michael, most people aren't taking a job at one point when they're 21 years old and keeping that job for the next 40 years. Like it's not like it used to
yeah,
be. And those jobs that they take now won't even be around 40 years from now. Um,
yeah.
so
So
what we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, what I really want to talk to you about is first of all, I have a question when we come back. I'm thinking about this whole idea of how music therapy, although you didn't complete the program there, your background in that work is probably very informative to the work that you see every day at Spirit of Huntington Arts Center, right? So they
yeah.
take a lot of that. So I want to once after we take a break, we'll talk about some of that. And then the other thing is listen, man, you've been at the Spirit of Huntington from the beginning, where it was at the gas
Hmm.
station. I've heard this story so many times, but many people haven't. Where it was
How
at
do you
the.
think how much I've heard it more
I
than
want. Well, now you're going to tell it, so you're going to hear yourself tell it to me when we come back. But I have.
yeah.
I have heard it a bunch of times with Eric, and then your dad comes by, and Dominic, and all these different things. I want to hear from your perspective. As how old were you at that time? Let's ask you that before we go.
I was I think 11 or 12. I
All
think
right. So
11.
so through your eyes, what did it look like? That's what we're going to.
Yeah. Yeah. All
We're
right.
doing we're doing a great thing, Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. I am a board member there. I originally met the organization when I met Michael D's dad, Michael Kitakis, and handed him a check from the Lindy Lou Foundation. Shout out to my family in memory of my cousin Linda as a legacy. And we have the foundation has been very supportive. Back in the day, it was a $1,500 check we had. Now, as of this year, we donate another $7,500 for new Apple Mac computers for the Artworks program at Spirit of Huntington. We'll talk more about that maybe today. Michael D. Kitakis and your boy Tommy D in the attic. Right back.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. Join me in the attic. That's right. Every Friday morning, your boy makes the trek up 2 flights of stairs, cup of coffee in hand, to deliver this incredible opportunity for you all to meet and learn about another nonprofit. Excuse me, another nonprofit organization. I like to say I help them tell their story and amplify their message. And before we get back into the conversation, I got to say hello to a friend of mine, because I was just saying to Michael D, nobody takes a job anymore for 40 years and stays in that job. So my friend Robert Rosner, my friend for life, shout out to Dunwoody, Georgia. My friend Robert says to me, nice show. Just think you know someone who has had the same job for 40 years. So Robert, I love you. I appreciate you checking in on the show. That's just the nature of this show. It's real time, real stuff happening. And yes, Robert has had the same job for a long time. So 40, probably 40 something years. Robert, you'll text me later on, but definitely over 40. All right. Here's a young man who is running parts of the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. Michael, whenever I come to Spirit of Huntington, you're always there to greet me. You're at the front door. So you handle much of the administration, office management, obviously.
Yes.
Musical side. Tell me what a day in the life of your role is.
So here at Spirit, I'm the main office manager and administrator. So I handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff of the physical office space itself, which means I do most of the calls. I do the front desk duties for the most part, letting people in. I do also all of the enrollment here at Spirit. I have a new program where I enter down all the attendance. I make sure I track how many students we have per week. I do office supply, ordering, stuff like that. I help coordinate what class is happening now. You know, it's just the day-to-day stuff. I mean, around. Well, it's the day-to-day stuff that happens. There is most of my duties there.
So is that, I would think for you, you get to interact with so many different people throughout your day, throughout your week, you know, whether it be the participants, whether it be staff, right? There's so much going on over there.
Oh, I always say at Spirit, it's either like you can hear a pin drop there, or so much is happening that your brain wants to explode. There's no in between.
Yeah. I'll take the second one. I'd rather a brain explosion. You know, if I gotta just hear a pin drop, I gotta go do a little namaste, man, like namaste in the attic. So I want to hear from you.
No,
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's never boring. There's several sentences a week where I'm like, I can't believe I said that out loud.
I want to hear from your perspective, man. You know, you're 11, 12-year-old, 11 or 12 years old, and your dad, Michael Kitakis, connects with Eric Price. Eric, you know, is the founder of the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. He's an incredible artist. Eric, if you're listening, I'm sure you'll listen to this at some point. Appreciate you, Eric. I appreciate your vision for this, you know, this organization and the great work that you've done for the special needs or the IDD population, obviously, as well as the veterans population. And, you know, Eric, this is one of those things, man, where, you know, we're kind of living out your vision, and that's pretty exciting. And I imagine from your perspective, it's exciting. Michael D. Kitakis, you were there from the beginning, man. You were there where at this abandoned garage. I've heard the story. It was cold in there.
Yeah. Oh, it was so cold. It was frigid. It was even in the
Tell me
summer, it was somehow cold.
Tell me about that place.
So fun thing about the origins of it. I don't know if Dad ever told you. Did you know my mother met Eric before Dad did?
Yeah, there was an award. There was like Eric donated a piece of art to SEPTA. Is that right?
Yes. So she was on the SEPTA with Diane, and that's so she met Eric before Dad. And then what happened was Mom has worked at that Huntington Village Starbucks for almost 10 years now. Might be 10 years now. But then one time when she was newer there and she was driving by, she noticed Eric was working on the garage building on a painting out there. So she stopped by one morning and offered him a coffee, asked what he was doing, asked what his vision was. And when he told her, she was like, I have to tell Michael about this. Like, he has to know. She told him, he stopped by, Eric told him his vision. And at first, Dad was like, all right, good luck, have a good life.
Yeah.
Like at first he was like, there's no way this can happen, Not that he was negative, but he was like, this seems like a big ambitious.
Yeah.
But then what happened was he met the right people. He met Dominic. He met the right connections to start to get us going off the ground. And our center at first was in that little garage on Park Avenue and 25A. Now it's that gorgeous Northwell building. But before that, it was the gas station that was very small. It was just, you walked in, you had it was like a table that was in the opening room. There was one small office back there, and then there was the back with the main room. Because it used to be a gas station, so the garage part was where the classroom was. Then I remember in the ceiling of that building, there was this like there's like this device that they use either I think to hold the cars or something. It was like a big cable, something that was like tied to the top of it.
Yeah, there's a lift where they would bring the cars up so they could work below the car, the mechanic.
Yeah, so it wasn't the lip in the ceiling of it. I remember there was just the top of the lift was still there. We never used it, but I remember like the top of the lift was still in the ceiling. And that building was so cold.
It wasn't set up for you all to do art classes there. It was.
Oh no! I always joke. I joke that we were barely legal there, which like
that's all right.
We were allowed, but like also worried at times. But it really was like very little. It was just us.
Yeah.
And the very first class, back in 2011, was actually not James. He was the second class. The first class was me, Mikey Young, Diane's other son, and a family friend of ours, or a former family friend of ours, her son. The three of us were the first class.
So let me pause you for a second to give everybody some context about who are these players that we're talking about. So my guest today is Michael D. Kitakis. His dad is Michael Kitakis. Diane Young is the associate executive director, and really in from very early on. Michael Kitakis obviously in from very early on, as we're talking about. Michael is the executive director, and my guest, Michael D. Kitakis, runs a lot of the administration and is a professionally trained musician, SUNY New Paltz. Shout out to New Paltz. And it all started, with Eric's vision, and then this connection through these multiple families that are involved. So, Michael, can you hear me right now? Okay. Okay. I thought that might happen. All right. So we're going to keep the show moving right now. What I want while we're waiting for Michael to get back on here, what I want to say is there was a movie. It was a documentary done about the origin story of the Spirit of Huntington Art Center, and it's called Autism Paints: The Spirit of an Artist. So I'm going to share my screen so you all can see that, and down the road it might be something you want to watch this movie. So we had a premiere of the film last April at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington. So I'm going to share that so folks can see. But it really is, it was a documentary film, or it is a documentary film, and it was it was done in a documentary style. So it was recording and video that had been done years ago that I don't know if the artist had ever planned that they would make this into something that people would see. I think it was more of let's keep the let's document what actually happened. So I was really taken when I went to see the film because Eric Price, the founder of the organization and the visionary behind Spirit of Huntington, was somebody I know for a number of years, but I didn't know this part of the story. Although I'm on the board.
Yeah.
Right, Mikey? Right, Michael? I didn't know all of this stuff. I learned so much that day when we did the premiere at Cinema Arts Center last year.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad that film finally somehow got out. It's funny because it was like taking me back because I was like, oh wow, I forgot how different, like so different from our daily functions today, I was like, oh wow, things used to be a lot less
Yeah.
informal, a lot more informal, a lot less on the spot, a lot more, as we went.
Yeah. I mean, and I just shared that. So, gang, if you want, you can go to spiritofhuntington.com. And actually, I'm going to just put this out there on social media because it's a long thing. It says / the canvas autism paints, but get with me and we'll figure out how to do it. Or you can just Google this stuff. That's how you do these things. All right. So, Michael, you're in the gas station, right? The former gas station. What is it aside from it being cold and aside from it not exactly being set up for arts? Who was teaching these classes originally?
Originally, it was just Eric, Dad, Diane. That was it
Yeah. Okay.
back then.
Yeah, but now did Diane have a background in art? Certainly your dad, ran an ad agency and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and he went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. So basically, Diane's background is in early childhood education, so not as much in art, but she had the background in teaching.
Yeah.
So that's how her expertise kind of came to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the whole thing, like where on a team, everybody brings their individual skill sets to the party, and then we're all better off because of that, right? So that's so important.
Yeah.
I want to know, are you so we got the art festival's coming up again.
Yeah. We're redoing August 11th, our Spirit of Summer Arts Festival. We're changing up things a little bit this year. We're making it strictly art vendors this year and homemade craft vendors. So we're doing a little more focus on the center too, as well as the outside. So we're have a new person doing it. So we're great event last year, of course, but now we're like, okay, that was the first time doing it. Let's make it something even more this year. So it's going to be a really, really awesome day on August 11th, from 11 to 4, I think it is.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. I'm going to share that as we go to a break in a second here. I'm going to share the screen, but you guys, actually, if you go to spiritofhuntington.com, it's the first thing that opens up, but I'll share that because if you are somebody who, does your own crafts, you're an artist or, some kind of artisan or something like that, we're definitely looking for vendors. I say we as a board member, I'm always speaking in that terms as well. So any support for that event, that's such a cool event. And it's called the Spirit of Summer Art Festival. And, this is an arts organization. It's a community-based art center. And like it's this whole like hippie thing, man. It's like this hippie theme, and Michael D, I could kind of vibe on that frequency of being a hippie, man. So although I was born a little later, that's definitely a frequency that I vibe on. So that's a fun day, August 11th. I'll share the screen in a second. We come back, Michael. I want to hear about. I want to explain to people, what happens at the center from courses and classes and who comes and who goes and that sort of stuff. I want to talk a little bit about that, and then if you're comfortable, maybe we could talk about artworks and certainly get into Artability, which is Long Island's only special needs art fair. Which extends way past Long Island now. We've done some stuff at galleries and right. So when we come back, I'm gonna kind of let you lead the way. If you want to talk artworks, Artability, we're gonna take a quick break. We come back, we'll jump right back into it. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, good. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Your boy is back in the attic, fired up. You know, I'll tell you, Michael, you get to see this from the beginning. You know, you were, like you say, you were in class. I didn't realize James Young, you know, was not an OG. In fact, he's like almost.
I know, not to discredit James, but he was like the second or third class is when. No, please, he's been there from practically the beginning too. But
I'm kidding with you. We love James Young. James Young, the creative director at the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. I mean, it's, you know, it's just such a it's such a close-knit organization, man, you know, and to be on the board, you know, have this, see my cousin Linda's legacy through the eyes, through the butterflies of the Lindy Lou Foundation on the computers and stuff like that. You know, I'm just glad I called Michael Kitakis one day and was like, hey man, I got a $1,500 check from the Lindy Lou Foundation. That was like, I had a picture, I sent it to your dad the other day. I think it was 2013 or something, or 2014. And I standing in front holding like the big check, you know, like the you know, like the big whiteboard check. So it's just crazy how life moves fast, you know. I want to just understand, talk to me about the classes. Before we do that, I just want to read this right off the website. Who are we? Excuse me, who are we? The Spirit of Huntington Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that ignites the passion of students of all ages and abilities for creative expression that transforms lives. I hear your father say that all the time, you know, creative expression transforms lives. He says that. I hear that. That's the mantra. That's the culture of the organization. Maybe we can talk about how, you know, how's it, you know what, before we even get into classes, how has it transformed your life, Michael D?
That's a good, really awesome question. I was wanting to answer this. So basically, after the early days of the garage, when the demand started to grow, we started to get a little more support. We needed a bigger space. That garage wasn't going to cut it anymore. So the old South Huntington Library, the building that used to be South Huntington Library, was up for sale. It had been abandoned for 9 years about. Michael needed another place for his media company, his former media company, New Media Marketing. So we were able to rent out this building from the South Huntington School District because they still owned it at the time. And from there we really started to hit the ground running a little bit. And then what happened was, for me personally, I was involved in the center growing up at their events. You know, I helped sell raffle tickets a little bit, but I had school, I had college at that point. So I still was involved with them, but, you know, it was kind of in the back burner for a little while. And then that's when I graduated school, because I mentioned earlier, I graduated at a really, really rough time. Nothing was happening. There was no opportunities. I think for the first 9 months after I graduated, I just did grocery delivery on those apps, on one of those apps. And it was fine. Instacart, yeah. I did Instacart for about 9 months. I needed it when I needed it. I got to explore. I got to get better driving, you know. But eventually, obviously, that's not sustainable in the long run. And I was really, really mentally starting to get to me of like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Like, where am I going to go now? I didn't have momentum.
Right.
And Dad, I remember one morning, Dad took me out he was like, let's go have breakfast at this one diner we like. I'm like, okay. He says that I really need help growing this music program. I really need help administratively because we're growing. I need another person there. I know your background from USDAN is administration, because USDAN, I was their nurse's assistant. I helped do the paperwork for the nurse's office. So I had some experience doing administration already. He says, I need another administrator there. So I had nothing else going on. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll do it. Not that I would have said no, but I was like, well, guess it's where I'm going. All right. And at first I was like, gee, how long is this going to last for me? It's like working with the family. That might be rough.
Yeah.
And it was bumpy at first, but the center has grown to about 400, 500 students a week about now. Now, New Media, since then, he sold the company. It was time for him to move on from that. We have the upstairs space now is where our office and Artworks is. Yeah. We had a dance studio, North Shore Dance, by the other half of the building. We had Rise Life Services come and buy the area upstairs for them to have their second location. So that was like basically a guaranteed set of students are of the same building as us, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. So,
But
so let's talk about that. So, 3 students in a garage. That's always the story I hear, right?
I know.
That's the Michael Kitakis story. 3 students in a garage, right? 25 a.m. Park Avenue, right? To 400, 500 students, participants benefiting from this community arts center week. Michael, that's incredible, right? Like, come on, man.
I know. Sometimes it's weird. I forget that it's like a big deal now.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes I'm like, all right, I have to do things this way now instead of like sometimes I forget because I've been with it for so long. I'm like, oh right, we're a big deal now.
We are a big deal, man. It's an impactful deal. I mean, let's talk. So you mentioned, let's give people frame of reference and context. You and I know the landscape, but not everybody does. So upstairs is where Artworks is. Now, do you want to speak a little bit about Artworks, and I can help you with that because from my perspective. So
yeah, so Artworks is a pre-vocation program. So Michael saw that there was a need for employment within young adults with disabilities, and that the unemployment rate, especially since COVID, has even risen. It's like in the high 80s still. And a lot of it is not to discredit work that other people do, but a lot of the jobs are just you're a stalker or you're just helping out making something, helping out in a factory line, helping out in nothing against the work other organizations do, but he realized there could be something a little more than just these few options that they have. So he realized a lot of them had an interest in computers, a lot of interest in some of them were sitting home all day wanting to play games and want to be in the computer all the time. So he decided, why don't I take this and I can make it something for them to learn skills? Because with James, he noticed how much talent he had naturally in wanting to do graphic design. So he realized that he can make this a class and have the students come in and take these pre-vocation skills to help teach them the skills to hopefully in the future get an employment within this field.
yeah, I thank you for that. I'm going to show the website, just the Artworks piece while we're talking, because I want to just say how listen, every time I talk about Spirit of Huntington, quickly my mind goes to Artworks very, very quickly. There's many programs at the organization, but personally, like if I had to have a favorite program, it's like having a favorite child, right? You're not supposed to, but let's be honest, that happens sometimes. But if I had to have a favorite program, it's Artworks, because it addresses what you're talking about. To me, it's not about ability with people, it's about access, right? Plenty of people have ability, but they're overlooked for that ability because I think society focuses on what people are not good at, quote unquote, whatever that
I know.
And it's rather, had we focused on what people's abilities are and give them access, that's what the thing that always gets me fired up and I guess ignites my passion is Artworks, because people are learning skills. People are then applying themselves. Again, we say special needs, we say IDD, we say neurodiverse. I think everybody's neurodiverse, to be honest with you, Michael D. I think everybody has different ways to learn. Everybody has different abilities, and most people don't fit into a box. That being said, people have different abilities and people have different needs. In the IDD population, as you said, tragically, the unemployment rate is like over 85 or 90%.
Yeah.
Your point of COVID, it was worse. And people have much more skill than, hey, working, not to beat up on stores, I won't say any names, but stocking shelves. People should be, people can be whatever they like.
More than that, yeah.
100%. And not only for themselves, but also for society. It's greater impact when they make when they're doing something they're passionate about and they're making their own impact. So let me tell you, dollars and cents. Vanguard Benefits, my company, was rebranded by the Spirit of Huntington Artworks team, and we are a client. Vanguard Benefits, we sell and service group benefits to businesses and nonprofits. Our entire rebrand was done by Spirit of Huntington, and every team meet with the team. Michael, you know this. We meet with the team who's doing
and not just Vanguard, but my organization. So after I graduated, I wanted a place to play my music more. I wanted a place to be. It's like I want an orchestra to perform with. I want this in my life. I joined the Northport Symphony Orchestra, which is we're a local growing orchestra based in the Northport area. I joined the orchestra at the tail end of them losing their old conductor and getting our new wonderful music director, Eric. And what happened was we needed a rebrand too, because I joined the board. They noticed that I had nonprofit experience. They asked me to join their board because they figured my younger perspective could help them a lot. Because not to rag on them, but a lot of the older board members were in the older generation who, in their minds, they're still stuck on, let's go door to door to advertise our program. Let's go door to door to do these things. And they didn't have that young perspective. Like, let's also do it another way of getting it online. Let's have a bigger online presence. So I know we do upstairs as Artworks is rebranding. So I pitched the dad, hey, can Artworks help the NSO too? So they also rebranded the Northport Symphony Orchestra. They gave us a new look. We have a fabulous new website. So
I'm trying to pull up the website now. So do you know what's the website off the top of your head?
northportsymphony.org, I think it is.
Okay, cool. We'll share that. So there it is right there in real time, in real practice. This is an organization that is changing the brand, the marketing strategy for other organizations. So wait, so go back for a second. So you're on the on the board over there?
Yes, I'm on the board of Northport Symphony, as well as being in their cello section.
And what about the cello section?
I said as well as being in their cello section.
So how often do you perform?
We perform about 4 times a year now, hopefully more. But for now, we perform on 4 times a year. Our next concert's going to be in the fall. We take a break for the summer. And we just had last concert, we had a wonderful soloist, Jeremias of Velasquez of the Metropolitan Orchestra, like a big deal player who was friends with Eric, a big deal violin player, fabulous soloist.
Website, right? That I pulled up. You see what I'm sharing?
Yes.
That's it.
This is our website.
And this was designed by Spirit of Huntington?
It was.
Little bit of home cooking, I like to say, man. I love it. You know, you knew that you had a great team at Spirit, and you said, let me leverage that and my relationship.
Yeah, and I knew that it was time for us to push a little more towards modern methods in a way too. It was time for us to reach out to more people. And ever since I joined, NSO has doubled in its members. We went from 20 something to 50 something. I'm very happy.
I want to come to a show, man, for sure. Definitely
I know you'll love it.
I'll come through and fall. You know, it's funny, man. Like, I listen to all kinds of music. We got to go to break in a second, but I listen to all kinds of music. And I will tell you, I don't know if you remember this, but you know, you might have seen it in reruns. But you familiar with the Tasmanian Devil? Like,
I know exactly what you're going to bring up as soon as you mentioned it. I'm like, yes,
the
Looney
cartoon
Tunes is a lot of people's first, especially your generation, a lot of older people's first exposure is Looney Tunes, which I think is great.
Hold on, a lot of my generation, older people. Hold on a second. Pause. Time out. What are you talking about? I'm only
no, I'm not calling you old.
No, I don't.
Not at all. I'm just saying that I've noticed that within the Gen X and older generation.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I bring it up. Like, there was like the Tasmanian Devil. He used to say, "Music soothes the savage beast," and like I sometimes am a savage beast, and I need music to chill me out, man. All types.
Yeah.
Of isn't it? I mean, listen, as a musician, this probably is not lost on you. The effect that music can have on us is incredible, man. It can change.
Yeah, that's the reason why I tried music therapy at first to begin with. Even if I didn't end up pursuing it, there's a reason why at first it was alluring to me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've found that, like, and I took a classical music course in college many years ago. Since you're telling me I'm an old man, Michael, many years ago when I was, but I took it back I was going to Baruch in the city, CUNY, and I took a class just as an elective. And it was interesting, and I didn't do anything past that. But I will tell you, sometimes I'll say, "Hey Alexa, put on Mozart. Hey Alexa, put on Bach," just to hear something else, and it gives me a different vibe, and it definitely chills me out, and I get mellowed out. So I will definitely come out to you and the Northport Symphony Orchestra under the direction of music director Eric Mall. Right? Am I correct? Am I saying his last name right? Mall?
Yeah. No, Eric is phenomenal conductor, very talented guy too. Lucky to have him.
I love seeing, and we're gonna go to break now, but I love seeing, like, they had a talent show at my kids' middle school, and I love seeing the kids come up and play the piano or play the cello. I mean, it's like, this is classic. Like, people get into and they really dig it. So you know, one of my daughters is becoming a singer for sure, and that's super exciting. So we a lot of extra music in the house. We're gonna go to a quick break. Michael, when we come back, this will be our last segment. Believe it or not, that's how quick the conversation goes on Philanthropy and Focus. When we come back, let's talk about Artability. Let's kind of just give a shout out, because we have an event tomorrow, Saturday, at the Paramount in Huntington, which is,
Mhm.
I should mention this, everybody, not too far from Papa's Ralph's. My dad's Ralph's Italian Ices. So if you know Tommy D, I'm giving out Italian Ices all the time to nonprofits. It's my dad who's the hookup on that. But the Paramount is right next door. I want to talk about that, Michael, when we come back. It's just some of the ideas, what Art Ability is all about, and kind of how we can help people get involved and become aware of what we're doing. How's that sound?
You got it.
We'll be right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We are back. Your boy, the one and only nonprofit sector connector, Tommy D, coming at you from the attic. Been in the attic for a long time, Michael D. It gets so lonely in the attic. I'm so glad that you're on the show with me today. It's so fun, man. I'm fired up that you're here. As you started to say at the beginning of the show, Michael was going to be here. Diane was going to be here. You know what? The universe got you here because you're the guy who was supposed to be here today, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Because you're welcome. You have your perspective of how this organization has impacted you, has impacted you, right? And it's a great story.
Yeah. I have a funny. Oh, sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but I want to say earlier a story about how far we've come. We had an event in Huntington when we first started.
Yeah.
The Art Center that I was thinking of us being in Paramount tomorrow. So one very first year in the garage, we were, I think it was a Memorial Day parade or something, or Veterans Day, one of those.
Yeah.
So he was like, let's make a float. None of us had ever made a parade float before.
Right.
None of us knew what we were doing. So we just hobbled together something. My grandpa came all the way from Ohio. We hobbled something together. We didn't even have our logo on it. And there was like an older veteran who was there that none of us knew who he was. We've never seen him again since. We put him at the edge of the float at the wheel of it because there was a wheel on it. We had Eric with a microphone yelling about his friends and the center. And Dad made me hand out flyers to people. And they were like, what is this? Are you selling me something? And I would love to be a fly on the wall for these people thinking, what the hell is this organization? What are they doing? What do they sell?
How far you've come, like think about.
I know.
Like that's why for me, back when we talked about the documentary earlier, that to me was just so cool because, being, not to say, I'm so interconnected and know everything about the center, but I know it through my lens. I had no idea of the story other than the anecdotes that I hear your dad talk about or Diane talk about, right?
Yeah.
But like seeing the movie. So, it's these type of things. It's the look back to go, we were here.
Yeah.
We're here. I mean, shout out to Dominic Mavalia, who owned the garage, owned the building where you guys were, and was just a good friend in letting you all start there. And Dominic still doing recording, and very, influential, and shout out to the entire board of directors who are friends of mine. I appreciate you all for the work you do. And you know, all the supporters, all the donors. Shout out to my Aunt Ellen and the Lindy Lou Foundation, because you know, it gives me the ability to come in there all the time and see the great work that the Artworks program is doing in memory of Linda. So love you all at Lindy Lou Foundation. Shout out to the Cunninghams. So tomorrow, let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
So we have an art exhibition at the Paramount in Huntington Village, in the Spotlight Cafe bar next to the main theater. Dad had a connection there. We have a handful of artwork set up there. Tomorrow afternoon, we're gonna have, I think at 3 o'clock, we're gonna have a few of our students are gonna perform there. One student is a tap dancer, he's gonna perform. One student's gonna do a duet song with his dad. Another one is gonna do a puppet show, because this guy, oh, I love him. He's one of our play students. He makes homemade Muppets.
No
Like
kidding.
legit homemade. Like, no, they're not just like this random, like, oh, that's cool. No, he makes very legit looking
Really?
Muppets that he does shows with. So I'm
Come on.
so excited for him to do that
What
tomorrow
time is
too.
that going on?
I think it's gonna be 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
Is when it's gonna start.
I gotta get through.
So
My
to
son
6
has
p.m. around.
3 to
So at
6.
Paramount in Huntington.
So all right, so it's at the it's at the Paramount Theater in Michael. What was the name of it's the Spotlight area? I think Michael has a little trouble on the connection here. Michael, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We hear you. So what was the name of the
Yeah, sorry. Hi.
welcome back.
Here.
Welcome back to the show. All right, so 370 New York Avenue, Huntington, which is just down the road from 362. Shout out to Ralph's. But 370 Huntington, 370 New York Avenue in Huntington is the Paramount Theater. What was the spot you were talking about where this event is going to be taking place? That little theater there.
So it's gonna be at the Spotlight Cafe. It's in the Paramount. It's like right next to the theater park. We all know. There's like a bar and performance place right next to the main theater.
All right, so I will be there at some point in the evening myself to show love and support for this organization. If you want to meet me there, gang, if you are local to Long Island, if you you know, send me a note, send me an email, Tommy D at Philanthropy and Phocus PHOCUS.com. Hit me up on Instagram, TommyD.NYC, because I will be over there tomorrow afternoon and evening. So it'd be great to listen. I'll have a Heineken Zero with you. You know, we'll hang out a little bit. You'll get to see the great work that the Spirit of Huntington is doing. And dude, who doesn't like a puppet show, Michael D? Come on.
Yeah.
So we got to check that out, man. I wanted to say from your perspective, you know, what is your, you know, I talked to your dad and I talked to the board and I talked to Diane, and everybody's got different vision. But as something that's been very instrumental, I'll use that word, right? Instrumental in your life. How do you see the Spirit of Huntington going forward? Like what do you see as the big opportunities and things that you might see in
Ooh. You know what? I definitely am seeing in the future a lot more people knowing about us. Because not that people don't know about us, but there's been a handful of times where people have heard about us and like, where have you guys been this whole time? You were here the whole time. You're doing these great things. Like, what? I can see in the future more people getting to find out about us as we get more press, as we get more organizations who want to collaborate with us. Because we have a few possible things in the works. Maybe more classes in Bohemia we're looking at. So we,
yeah.
you know,
I know.
AHRC Suffolk's turning out to be one of our biggest, lately one of our newer, bigger partners. So we're excited to do work with them.
I'm super excited. I played in their golf outing a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Mary Fu. Shout out to John McGuigan. You know, John, we got to get you on the show. You know, there's a lot of interesting conversations going on, which, you know, I'm excited to hear more about. But it's that, Michael, it's partnerships. It's making more relationships. It's making more partnerships. It's help getting the word out. And that's honestly what that's honestly what Philanthropy and Focus is all about. It's about getting the word out.
Yeah.
Know about these nonprofits and letting them know the stories about the impact that the organizations are doing. So it's all good. So when you think in terms of like, if you were to project your own future, Michael, as it relates to Spirit, the next 5 years, is there, because I know, you're also, aside from the work you do from an administrative perspective, you also do work in the music department and doing some of the music classes. I think you and James collaborate a little bit on that, right?
A little bit. James has taken more or less nothing against it. James is more or less taking the lead on it as my administrative duties have grown a lot since I've started. But I still do a little bit. I still teach at least one class a week. I still,
Okay, so you get in the classroom, you get to do
help
it.
him.
Yeah. Where do
Yeah.
you want to be? And is there certain things in the organization that you see, hey, I could really be impactful over here?
Yeah, I think I would love to essentially get more involved in the inner mechanisms of the HR stuff. I get to want to eventually help with the billing department in a way more, I could see myself getting more involved in the inner works,
Love
helping
that.
make sure everything's organized, helping make sure everything's running smoothly on a day-to-day basis here. So dad doesn't get stressed out over something that shouldn't have blown up.
Well, and that's the thing, man. Like, that's the thing. Michael is a great ambassador. Your dad, Michael, is a great ambassador of this organization. And the idea is, the more we can take off of somebody's plate in that leadership role, right? If you have certain skill sets, that's what a team is all about. So listen, man, I appreciate you being on the show. I know you didn't find out till last night. I hope it was something that you valued, because I value this conversation with you. So any last thing,
No, thank you.
anything else you want to leave for people before we head out?
Just look us up on spirithuntington.com. Join us in one of our events if you want to. Maybe get to visit us if you're local. Call us. I'll probably answer the phone most of the time. So,
I love it.
Look us up.
My guest is Michael D. Kitakis of the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. Go to spiritofhuntington.com. Hit me up. If you're close to Long Island and you want to hang out tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, let's go out and see the folks. They're going to be at the Paramount. Michael D., I appreciate you. Everybody else, I appreciate you listening to Robert Rosner. Thanks for checking in and sending me that text. As it turns out, Michael, he's been doing the same job for 54 years. He just texted me. Make it a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Tommy.
Later, Michael.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
You're listening to Talk